Welcome to the deep dive. Today, get ready, because we're digging into a really cool paleontological story.
We are indeed.
We're looking at Abditosaurus kuni. We've got the scientific papers right here, the ones that detail its long journey from discovery to description.
It's quite the journey, too.
Right. So our goal is to figure out why this forgotten lizard found in Catalonia, Spain, late Cretaceous, why it's such an important find.
And what it tells us about dinosaurs in Europe, like right at the very end, just before the big extinction event.
Exactly. And Abditosaurus, it's a titanosaurian sauropod.
That's the one. So think huge, long neck plant eater, lived in the Maastrichtian age, the very last slice of the Cretaceous period.
Okay, so let's start with the discovery, because it wasn't exactly planned, was it?
Not at all. It was pure accident, really. Back in 1954, this German paleontologist, Walter Kuhne,
Right. Cool.
he was actually in Catalonia looking for fossil mammals, tiny things.
Wow. So not looking for giant dinosaurs then?
Definitely not. But he stumbled across these bones at a place called Orco 1.
And this was a big deal for Spain.
Oh, huge. It was the first major sauropod discovery there. A real landmark moment.
So completely serendipitous. And over the next couple of years, he dug up some material.
Yeah, about 20 bones in total over like 2 field seasons.
Okay, what sort of things did they find initially?
Well, fragments of the ilium, that's
Yeah.
part of the hip bits of the shoulder blade, the scapula, parts of the femurs, the thigh bones, a complete humerus, which is the upper arm bone. That was nice.
Yeah.
Plus some dorsal vertebrae from the back, some tail chevrons, and a tibia, the shin bone.
So a decent haul for stumbling across it?
Absolutely. Enough to know they had something significant. But then,
The inevitable, but...
yeah, funding ran out.
Yeah?
Happened in 1956. So the excavation stopped.
And what happened to the bones they did find?
They were tentatively assigned to Hypsilosaurus, or at least an unnamed species of it.
Hypsilosaurs, is that still considered valid?
Not really. It's considered a dubious genus now, so
Yeah.
that assignment didn't really stick long term.
So the forgotten lizard nearly stayed forgotten.
It almost did. But luckily, interest picked up again decades later.
Right. In the 80s, 1984, 1986, there were new expeditions.
Exactly. Led by Joseph Vicente Santa Fe. They went back to the site.
And did they find more?
They did. They uncovered a sternal plate that's a bone from the chest area and some more dorsal vertebrae.
Okay.
Plus, they managed to track down some of Kuhn's original material, putting the pieces back together, literally.
And this whole story, the rediscovery, it even got featured in a documentary.
Yeah, Europe's Last Giant in 2017, it really helped bring the story to light for more people.
Europe's Last Giant. That's quite a title. And fitting, too, because the actual specimen, the type specimen, it's pretty special for Europe, isn't it?
It really is. It's actually the most complete Titanosaur skeleton found in Europe, period.
Wow. The most complete. What makes it so complete?
Well, one of the standout features is the neck. They found a semi-articulated neck.
Meaning the bones were still mostly connected.
Yeah, pretty much in their life positions. They found 12 cervical vertebrae, neck bones, out of an estimated 14, still linked together.
That sounds incredibly rare for sauropods. Their necks are so long and you'd think fragile after death.
It's exceptionally rare. Globally, finding complete or nearly complete sauropod necks, as of early 2022, there were only about 27 known specimens like that.
Okay, so this Abditosaurus neck is a huge deal.
A massive deal. And it was the first semi-articulated titanosaur neck found in Europe. Give us a huge amount of information.
So after all that discovery, pause, rediscovery, it finally got its official name in 2022.
Abditosaurus kuni.
Yep, formally named and described by Avila and colleagues.
Let's break down that name, Abditosaurus. There's a story there, right?
There is. It means forgotten lizard, from the Latin abditus, concealed or forgotten, and Greek sauros, for lizard.
That perfectly captures the 60-year gap.
Exactly. That long wait between the initial find and the full scientific study.
And the species name, kune. That honors Walter Kuhne, a fitting tribute to the person who accidentally stumbled upon it while looking for mammals.
A great story behind the name. Okay, let's picture this dinosaur. It's a titanosaur, so we know it's big. But how big are we talking?
We're talking really big for its time and place. Estimates put it around 17.5 meters long.
17.5 meters. That's, what, about 57 feet?
Roughly, yeah. And weighing maybe 14 tons or 15 short tons.
Okay, so a hefty animal.
Definitely. It made it the largest titanosaur species we know of from what we call the Ibero-Armorican island.
The Ibero-Armorican island. That's ancient Spain, Portugal, southern France.
Correct. So Abditosaurus was the heavyweight champ of that particular landmass back then.
Heavyweight champ. I like that. And the holotype specimen, that's the main one they based the description on.
Exactly, the reference specimen.
It had some unusual bony bits preserved too, didn't it? Things not often found.
It did, yes. Very interestingly, it preserved an ossified sternal rib, part of the chest structure, and an ossified calcaneum.
The heel bone, ossified.
Yeah, turned to bone. These elements usually remain cartilaginous in titanosaurs, so finding them ossified is rare.
Any idea why they were bony in this individual?
The researchers suggested it might be because this particular dinosaur was quite old when it died.
Ah, like an elderly giant.
Possibly. The bone structure analysis, the histology, seemed to support that idea of it being a mature, possibly old individual, which is cool. It gives us a glimpse into their later life stages.
Okay, so we've got this big, relatively complete skeleton. Where does it slot into the bigger dinosaur family tree, the Titanosaur branch?
Right, the phylogeny. This is where it gets really interesting and a bit complicated, as often happens in paleontology.
Always. So what did the original 2022 paper suggest?
That first analysis by Vila and colleagues placed Abditosaurus within a group called Saltosaurini,
Saltosaurini. Where are they mostly found?
primarily South America and Africa.
Oh, so finding one in Europe is surprising.
Very surprising. It immediately raised questions about how it got there. The analysis suggested its closest relative might be Paralidotin from Egypt,
Wow, another giant.
followed by Maxicalosaurus from Brazil.
So strong links to Gondwana, the southern continents?
Exactly. It implied Abditosaurus was quite distinct from the other European titanosaurs, which were generally smaller. It suggested some kind of late dispersal event from the south.
A late arrival onto the European scene. That changes the picture quite a bit.
It really does. It makes you think about possible land connections or migration routes late in the Cretaceous that we maybe hadn't fully considered.
But you mentioned it gets complicated.
Well, yes, because science keeps moving. A later study in 2023 by Gorskak and colleagues used a revised data set, different analytical methods.
And came up with a different answer.
Yep. They proposed a different spot for Abditosaurus. Their analysis grouped it with dinosaurs like Alamosaurus,
From North America.
right, and Pellegrinosaurus and Barudatin from South America, and the huge Dreadnoughtus.
Okay, still some southern links, but also a North American one now.
Yes, and this whole group was found to be closely related to another major group of massive titanosaurs called Loncosauria.
So a completely different set of close relatives proposed.
Pretty much. It really highlights how ongoing research, new data, and different analytical approaches can lead to different interpretations of these ancient relationships.
It shows how dynamic the field is, doesn't it? Our understanding is constantly being refined.
Absolutely. It's not that one is definitively wrong and the other right yet. It's just the evidence is being interpreted in different ways as we learn more.
Okay, let's step back into its world. The Ibero-Armorican island, early Maastrichtian. What was that environment like, and how did this giant fit in, especially if most other titanosaurs there were smaller?
Well, that size difference is key. Most other titanosaurs known from that island at that time were considerably smaller.
Right.
And Abditosaurus doesn't show the typical signs of island dwarfism. You sometimes see where large animals get smaller over generations due to limited resources.
So it wasn't shrinking, it was just big.
Exactly. Which leads to the idea that it probably wasn't a long-term island resident that had evolved there for ages.
It was more likely a newcomer, an immigrant.
That's the leading hypothesis, yeah. It suggests it was a relatively recent arrival to that ecosystem.
How might it have gotten there?
Well, its appearance might be part of a bigger trend we seem to see in Europe around this time.
Oh, what's that?
The arrival of larger sauropod forms, potentially replacing some of the smaller endemic species that had been there before.
Huh. A sort of late-stage faunal turnover?
Possibly. Something was allowing these larger titanosaurs, perhaps with Gondwanan or maybe even North American links, to spread into Europe near the end.
And is there any other evidence linking it to, say, Gondwana?
Interestingly, yes. Fossil eggs have been found in the same geological layers. The O species Fusiolinthes bagensis.
Okay. What's special about those eggs?
They look very similar to eggs found in places that were part of Gondwana, like India.
Ah, so another potential clue pointing south?
It's another piece of the puzzle, suggesting some kind of connection or shared fauna between these landmasses late in the game.
It really paints a picture of a world that was still dynamic, still interconnected, even as the age of dinosaurs was drawing to a close.
It certainly does. Lots of questions about dispersal, ecological pressures, how these ecosystems worked.
So, wrapping this up, Abditosaurus cuneae, the forgotten lizard. It's really quite a significant discovery, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's much more than just another set of large bones.
Its completeness being the best titanosaur from Europe.
That gives us invaluable anatomical data. Its sheer size in that island setting is fascinating.
And the debate about its family tree, Saltasaurinae, Locusauria related.
That whole debate opens up really exciting questions about biogeography, how these giants moved around the globe just before the end.
And the 60-year journey from discovery to description.
Yeah, that's a story in itself, isn't it? It really shows how paleontology works sometimes. It takes time, patience, sometimes luck.
And it highlights how science evolves with those different phylogenetic results.
Definitely. New data, new methods, they constantly make us rethink things. It's a living field.
So as you think about Abditosaurus, maybe ponder this. What happens when a huge animal, possibly a newcomer, arrives in an established island ecosystem?
Right. What kind of ecological ripple effects would that have? What pressures would it face? What resources would it need?
And what does its presence, regardless of its exact origins, tell us about how connected the world still was right before everything changed?
Lots to think about. Abditosaurus has certainly given us plenty to chew on.